Barber. Many people living in southern Arizona do not believe enough is being done by the federal government to solve the illegal immigration problem. If you are elected, what actions will you take to further enhance border security, and how would you resolve illegal immigration?
Well, thank you for that question. But before I answer it, I just want to thank the Chamber and Buena High School for hosting us tonight, and thank our moderator. He's done this a few times, so I think we're in for a good moderating evening tonight. And I want to also thank my opponent, Colonel McSally, for her service to our country, and all of the veterans and active duty members and families in this audience and around this county. You have served our country bravely, and I want to honor you tonight. And I also want to just take a moment to reflect on the 3 lives that we've lost this last month. We lost 2 members of our Army who were from here, and we also lost a Border Patrol agent. These men and women, these men paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we have to remember them and honor what they've done. With regard to border security, it's been my work for the last 6.5 years to understand the border security question. I've met numerous times with ranchers and business people, law enforcement, border patrol agents, and I've understood from them what needs to happen. I put together a list of priorities based upon those conversations that turned into a $600 million emergency appropriation for border security. More troops on the ground, more boots on the ground, 1,000 of them. Mobile surveillance systems, aerial technology, more Border Patrol, more DEA agents, ICE agents, and more help for the courts, as well as forward operating bases and horse patrols. Those were appropriated, and those are on the border. So we have made some progress, but there's a long way to go. When I talk to the ranchers who live east of Douglas, and they are unsafe on their land, as Rob Krentz was when he was killed 2 years ago, we have to do more. And I'm dedicated to doing more. That's why I asked to be on the Homeland Security Committee, where I'm working with my colleagues across the aisle to bring more resources in border security to our border security issue. We cannot allow the drug cartels to have 1 inch of American soil. And that's my proposal to go forward to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Thank you, sir. Would you like me to read the question again, Ms. McSally?
Sure.
Okay. Many people living in southern Arizona do not believe enough is being done by the federal government to solve the illegal immigration problem. If you are elected, what actions will you take to further enhance border security, and how would you resolve illegal immigration?
Thanks for the question, Phil, and thanks to the Chamber for putting this on, and thanks for everybody for coming out tonight to be informed on your candidates so you can make a good choice. Before I answer the question, I do want to ask you to join me in a moment of silence for Sergeant First Class Ryan Savard. Ryan is a Buena High School graduate. On his 5th tour in Afghanistan as a Green Beret, was killed this week by enemy fire. So please join me for just a short moment of silence for him. Thank you. Like Ryan, many of you know, I served in the military for 26 years in uniform. Look, the federal government has failed to secure our border. This is a public safety issue for our neighborhoods, and this is a national security threat. We've got transnational criminal organizations that are trafficking drugs and weapons and slaves and money in and out of our neighborhoods. And the federal government has absolutely failed. This is dereliction of duty, and this community knows it better than any. When I go to Washington, D.C., I'm gonna lead the effort to use intelligence-driven operations to secure our border. Barriers and fences where appropriate, manpower at the border, sensors and technology with airborne assets to do intelligence-driven operations. I understand how to do this. In my 26 years in the military, I was teaching and training people from all over the world, dealing with criminal organizations and how to do intelligence-driven operations. This is not rocket science. The federal government has failed. They've also failed to reform our legal immigration system. It's painful. We have people graduating at the high end with PhDs and going back to India and China with their nuclear physics expertise. We have people who are looking for work, and we need a safe and legal way to bring them over in communities and ranchers on the border. The federal government has again shown dereliction of duty, and I plan to bring leadership and moral courage to address these issues and to solve these complex problems when I get to DC. Thank you.
Okay, Congressman Barber, you have 30 seconds to clarify or rebut.
Well, I think we agree on what's needed on the border. The one difference is that I've worked to get those resources to the border, and I will continue to do so as a member of the Homeland Security Committee. I take this very seriously. When I went to the one-room schoolhouse to meet with the family of Rob Krentz and the neighbors, I knew very well that we needed to do more. And as far as illegal immigration is concerned, it is on the wane, but we need to do more to stop it. We need to make sure that illegal hiring by employers is cracked down on, and we need to bring people out of the shadows so they can come here and, I guess, work a program safely and return home to their families.
We're going to keep you on track here. So we're going to make sure that I'm going to interject when the 30 seconds are up.
No practice filibustering.
Yes, exactly. Okay, the second question goes to you, Mrs. McSally. The importance of the defense industry in our state's economy, in particular in southeastern Arizona, is widely acknowledged. The potential impact of sequestration on the defense budget is a matter of serious concern to your constituents. What is your opinion concerning the current actions related to sequestration, and what would you do to help sustain the military's presence both locally and nationally?
Thank you. For the big word sequestration, for those who don't know that, it is the $1.2 trillion cut that is going to come at the end of the year because Congress has failed to figure out how to get us on a good fiscal path. And that $1.2 trillion includes $500 billion of defense cuts. Look, this is a national security threat, and this is a threat to our local communities and economy. We're feeling it right here in Sierra Vista. We're feeling it all around the district. This is just another failure of Congress. Having served 26 years in the military and retiring as a colonel, I know what we need to make sure we right-size our military to defend our citizens and our national interests against the threats that are out there. I will do everything on my part to lead the effort to make sure that we right-size our defense and we give the equipment and the training to the men and women who are putting on the uniform to defend our country. Mr. Barber talks about how he's against sequestration, but did you know he voted against a bipartisan bill that would have avoided it? I mean, this is not what we need right now. We need people who are going to come together in Washington, D.C., and they're going to come up with teams of people to solve these problems. This is a serious issue, and that was a primarily partisan vote. This bill would have avoided it by coming up with a solution and making the president find other ways to find these savings, instead of impacting our national security and impacting jobs in our local economy. And Mr. Barber decided to vote with Nancy Pelosi on this bill, instead of fighting for the people of Southern Arizona and the people of Cochise County to stop this sequestration from happening. We cannot let the Defense Department not be equipped, and we cannot let our national security be at stake. I promise when I go to DC, I'm going to provide leadership. I'll sit down with anybody, from Republican, Democrat, Independents, I don't care. Let's figure out how to right-size our defense and save our country, because there's way too much at stake, and we need leaders and not partisan bickerers to solve this issue.
Thank you. Mr. Barber, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you okay?
Well, I'm fine with that. First of all, let me clarify. My opponent has misrepresented what was in that bill. That bill was really a reiteration of the Ryan budget, which I oppose because it would destroy Medicare, it would reduce student loans, it would take away Pell Grants. That's not a bill that I can vote for. What we really need to do is to get to work. I have voted against adjournment twice. I did not want to come back to the district, even though I love being home, because I think it's time, it's long past, when we need to get down to business and solve this problem. This has gone on for almost a year. We knew when it was coming, and we haven't dealt with it. When we go back on November 13th, we better get busy, because if we don't, the military will be cut immensely, defense contractors will be cut, all kinds of social programs will be cut. We cannot let it happen. I've already worked across the aisle to introduce bills, and I will continue to work with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to solve this terrible problem of sequestration. I've met with the Secretary of Defense. I've met with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I've met with with contractors in the defense industry. Every one of them has told us what we need to do to stop this terrible and irresponsible move towards slashing everything across the board. We need to go into every budget and pull out the programs that don't work. Deal with duplication. Go after fraud and waste and abuse. $115 billion last year was overpaid to providers and other entities. We need to stop it. We can solve this problem, but it's going to take bipartisanship and not misrepresentation of the bill that I voted on, which was a terrible bill.
Mr. Selly, you have 30 seconds to
I
rebut.
mean, the problem with politicians politicians is that they misrepresent what they voted on. That bill said either we solve it with the budget that was passed or with some other solution that the House would come up with the Senate in a bipartisan way to avoid these devastating cuts. Read the bill. I've done it myself. This was a plan to avoid sequestration with two options in it, and Mr. Barber decided to vote with Nancy Pelosi and vote against it. This is the problem with politicians these days, and Mr. Barber's gone to DC and become a part of the problem. I'm going to bring leadership, I'm going to bring moral courage, and I'm going to bring someone who's willing to get results.
Thank you. Okay, our